Hey there, and welcome back. All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about a term you've probably heard 1,000 times on the news or in financial reports: emerging market. It's one of those phrases that sounds super important, but what does it actually mean for the global economy? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? Right? It gets thrown around all the time. Is it just a cool buzzword for a country that's doing well? Well, it's actually a bit more specific than that. And today, we're going to peel back the layers and really get to the heart of what makes these dynamic economies so different from their more established neighbors. So, to really get a handle on this, let's think of an emerging market like a young tree. A sapling. It's just bursting with potential, growing like crazy, and building the foundation that will one day make it a giant oak tree. It's all about being in that phase of rapid, unstoppable growth. Okay, so here's the textbook definition. But what it really means is that these economies are in the middle of a massive transformation. They're shifting gears, moving from older, maybe agriculture-based systems to full-on industrial powerhouses. They're opening up their markets, they're reforming their laws. It's this period of really intense, sometimes a little chaotic, but incredibly exciting change. And what's so cool here is how all these points feed into each other. It's like a chain reaction. The rapid GDP growth, that's being powered by all the new factories and industries. But to support that, you need better roads, ports, and internet. That's the developing infrastructure. And of course, you need stronger banks and laws to keep it all running smoothly. Put it all together and bam! You've created an environment with huge potential for investment returns. So if emerging markets are our fast-growing saplings, what's on the other side of the economic forest? Well, you've got the big, sturdy, established oaks. These are the mature markets, the heavyweights that have already had their massive growth spurts and are now just solid. A mature market is pretty much what it says on the tin. It's developed, it's established, and it's stable. We're talking about countries with huge economies, top-of-the-line infrastructure, and where people generally have a high standard of living. Think of places like the United States, Germany, or Japan. And this just paints the perfect picture of the contrast, doesn't it? Instead of that explosive growth, you get slower, much more predictable progress. The highways and airports are already built. The political and legal systems have been humming along for ages, which gives everyone a sense of stability. And for an investor, all of that translates to lower risk. You're probably not going to see crazy returns, but the ground beneath your feet feels a whole lot firmer. This really brings us to the heart of it all. I mean, if you strip away all the jargon, the fundamental difference between these two types of economies boils down to one simple trade-off. Are you chasing explosive growth, or are you looking for predictable stability? And you can see that difference in focus right here. Emerging markets are playing catch-up, and they're playing it fast. Everything they do is about rapid expansion. It really is like an economy hitting a massive growth spurt. Mature markets? They've already grown up. Their goal now is just to maintain their strength, making small, steady gains year after year. It's a much more predictable and, well, calmer path. Wow, and this chart just puts it in black and white, doesn't it? Now, these are just example numbers, but they really show you the difference in energy. An emerging market humming along at over 6% growth is on a totally different level than a mature market growing at 2%. That gap, right there, is what's reshaping the global economy. And this is a really big but, that incredible, eye-popping growth potential doesn't come for free. Nope. It comes with a massive trade-off, something every single investor has to wrestle with. And that trade-off is the classic story of risk versus reward. This table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at emerging markets. The reward potential is high, for sure, but so is the volatility. The markets can swing like crazy, political situations can be less stable, and a surprise election or policy change can send shockwaves. And the value of their currency can jump up and down, adding a whole other layer of risk. Mature markets are the complete opposite. Lower rewards, but way more stability all around. So that leads to the million-dollar question, right? Which one is better? And the truth is, neither. There's no single right answer. It all depends on what an investor is trying to achieve, how much time they have, and maybe most importantly, how much risk they can stomach. It's all about finding the right mix for your own personal game plan. Okay, so we've got the definitions down, we understand the investment side of things, but you might be wondering, why does this matter to me if I'm not some Wall Street trader? Well, it matters a ton because this whole dynamic is shaping the world that every single one of us lives in. And this is the real takeaway. This isn't just some abstract concept from an economics textbook. The push and pull between emerging and mature markets directly affects your life, from how well your retirement savings are doing to how much that smartphone in your pocket actually costs. Let's just break it down. Global supply chains? Think about the clothes you're wearing or the device you're watching this on. Chances are an emerging market played a huge part in making it. Your retirement plan? It almost certainly has money invested in these markets to try and capture some of that high growth. Geopolitics? The rise of these economies is literally shifting who holds power on the world stage. And maybe most excitingly, more and more the next big world-changing ideas are coming from these incredible centers of innovation. You know, there's a quote that just perfectly captures this idea. While the mature markets are the foundation of today's economy, the story of tomorrow, all the growth, all the big changes, that story is being written right now in the emerging markets. And that really brings us to the final thought. We know these economic saplings are growing. We know they have amazing potential. As they finally mature into the great oaks of the future, they won't just join the forest, they're going to completely reshape it. So the real question we're left with is, which of these rising powers will grow the tallest, and how will their rise change the world for all of us? It's a lot to think about. Thanks for joining me.